Hey, welcome to a moon moment with Mama Mandala. It's a full moon in Aquarius. We are in Leo season and we're playing with archetypes here. I'm Hagar. I'm not an astrologer, but I love the play of archetypes and mythology and the invitation to do inner work and collective work through archetypes of any kind. So, why not the astrological ones? So, Leo is where we are in the season at the moment. And Leo is the part of us that takes the stage, that sits in the spotlight, that emanates light from inside and shares it, that expresses and speaks their heart and pours itself out. And then the moon is full in Leo season in the sign of Aquarius that completes the sign of Leo, right? The signs that are on the opposite sides of the axis are completing each other and complementing each other and contradicting each other. So we get a full spectrum of self and collective, right? So Aquarius is a collective sign. Both signs love, both archetypes love to gather community around them. So when Leo gathers community is they are in the center of it. They are the ones who are having the party. They're the ones that everyone is there to see and bask in the light of. And Aquarius invites everybody to a circle where everyone gets a turn to speak, right? Aquarius wants to move the seat of the guru around, right? Leo wants to sit in that seat forever and ever, and Aquarius wants to keep moving and shifting who gets a turn to speak, because Aquarius really sees the way that all of us together are stronger than one of us by ourselves, right? Aquarius is a visionary archetype, and they see the importance of working together because they understand that we are a part of a fabric that is woven together, that not only as humans but that the seat of the teacher is also the seat of a plant and an animal, a tree, a star in the sky, right? So that there's this understanding and a delight in a way in the presence of the web of connectivity, of the way that everything is interlaced and interwoven, of how we are not only much more powerful together, but that we really cannot be without one another in a way. And they see not that we are, it's not like, oh, we're all one and that's it. That's a very flat way, in a way, of thinking about it, because Aquarius sees, oh, what makes us all a part of this one thing is that we're all different. The individual and the individuation is just as important as the whole, and the whole is made of individuated parts, and the parts are each connected and interdependent on everything else around it, right? Where we are a part of one cosmos, but it's not just, oh, it's just one and that's it. There's differences, and it's the differences that makes the whole. It's the, in a way, just to play with the words, it's the brokenness that makes the wholeness. And Aquarius has the vision for that. They kind of fly high above the ground and can see a bigger picture. So the archetype, some of the traits of the archetype is that they're deeply innovative and creative, powerfully imaginative. They're seeing into the future. They're forward thinkers. It's the ability to see, to be a few steps ahead of everyone else. Aquarius loves to break to kind of mess with the status quo. They're rebels in their hearts, right? Leo kind of, in a way, Leo is the courageous heart, and the ability to speak our minds and be deeply powerful in our presence. And Aquarius is super courageous too, right? But they're not even doing it from that place of courage. They're going forward already. They're just this status quo bullshit. Fuck that. Like I'm gonna just do what I'm seeing must be done, right? And that can be for some people just like hold on, wait, right? It's disruptive in a way. There's a quality to it that is a bit trickster, like, right? And in a way, Leo is like the monarchy. they it's not that Leo is a status quo because Leo is a wild one, right? But Leo kind of, this is my kingdom, and Aquarius is like, no, it's not. It's everyone's, right? And this is such a flat and overly simplified way of seeing it, but I'm just giving us an idea, something to play with, because we're every character, right? We're, all of it is different aspects of all of us. And the moon rises in the sign of Aquarius around the time of year when Leo is in, when the sun is in Leo, around the time of year where in ancient Egypt the Nile was would flood, right? So all this great water quality would come to the land and fertilize it. And the ancient Egyptians saw that as the god Osiris, who is a god of dismemberment. Kind of the way that the way that Aquarius is the invitation to dismember the status quo, right? And then there's a rebirth. There's a fertilizing and the fecundity of the land that comes through the water pouring and flooding of the Nile, right? So there's this ability to break down some of the things that are no longer working, and this invitation to then consider, what are we watering? What are we bringing life to? How are we reconstructing our lives in different ways, in different through different ways of seeing, right? And that's the invitation of this archetype. Oh, I got hair in my eye. Sorry. So the way that the ancient Egyptians also saw that, they saw this being, that what they saw in the constellation was this being with water containers pouring the water out, and they called this being, so Osiris is the actual river for them. The god is the river, and who poured the water out of these jugs, of these containers, was a god that they named Hapi. Not like happiness, but happy, Hapi. So happy. And this god is actually also a goddess. It's an androgynous presence, because there's a beard there, and there are breasts full and pouring, and there's this soft feminine belly, but there's masculine generative power, right? So it's both. And Hapi was considered to be the presence that connects between lower and upper Egypt, regions of this country that were otherwise very different in what grows and what's present. And it's this ability to connect and bring together parts, right? Very much an Aquarius thinking. And all over that area, there in Babylonian tradition and mythology, there was also an Aquarius presence, that Gilgamesh, from the Epic of Gilgamesh, who is going to look for the herb of immortality. The one who watches and protects the herb of immortality is Aquarius. It's a character who is very much like Noah from Noah's Ark. He hears the divine voice that tells him that there's going to be this great flood that's going to destroy everything. And he's the only one that's doing something about it. He's the only one that is actually building a boat so that he can survive the flood. And so he's given a gift of immortality because he listened to this divine voice. And so he is in this other world where Gilgamesh is going to look for the herb of immortality, and this character, this Aquarius-like character, protects it. And on his way, this is kind of cool because Aquarius is considered to be a fixed air sign. So the fixed signs in astrology are always in the middle of the season. They're kind of holding down the fort of the season, right? They're anchored in what is happening in the land at the time. And so on his way, Gilgamesh meets the other three fixed sign characters. The goddess sends a bull to fight him, like Taurus, right? And then he fights a pride of lions. That's Leo, and he wins over. And he has to cross a barrier and a gate where a scorpion man stands and protects the gate, right? The Scorpio. So we're meeting the four directions, the four fixed signs, and he finally gets to this Aquarius like character, and he doesn't retrieve the the immortal herb, because us humans are still mortal, right? But there's a in different stories, in other stories too, when we look at the Aquarius story from the Greek mythology, we also meet the way that Aquarius is a character that brings in a way, or that retrieves, or that holds, or that plays with the immortality of water. So it's not a water sign, right? It's an air sign, so it's very much about thinking, imagining and envisioning qualities that live in it, but it carries the water, it bears the water, right? So we have in Greek mythology, Zeus used to have Hebe, who is the daughter of Hera, and she was the one who held the jug that held the water of the gods and the wine of the gods, and she would pour the nectar of immortality of the gods, and she kept it coming. She kept the water coming. So in a way, in Greek mythology, we see the shift from feminine, life-giving quality, and she's going to be replaced by Ganymede, who is a shepherd boy who Zeus sees and falls in love with. He thinks he's so hot. He's out there in the pasture, and he wants him. He wants him for a slave. He wants him for his water bearer. He wants him for a lover. So he goes as an eagle, which he often does, and he grabs Ganymede and brings him to Mount Olympus, and he gives him the role of Hebe. He gives the masculine the role of the feminine. There's a lot of play. Do you see how in the Egyptian mythology we have an androgynous character, and in the Gilgamesh story, it's the masculine, the king Gilgamesh, that the goddess starts to send her powers at. He's actually fighting the goddess who sends the Taurus and the lion pride and the Scorpio men, right? So we're seeing a shift from a matriarchal society to a patriarchal one, right? So Zeus brings Ganymede to Mount Olympus, and he tells Hebe to go somewhere else, and Hera's really upset about it, and she's fighting with Zeus. So some stories say that he's tired of her fighting, so he turns Ganymede into a constellation. And the other part of the story is that Ganymede himself just gets super bored with his job of just pouring the nectar of immortality in the cups of the gods, and keeps carrying water around and kind of being that character. He's not into it, so he finally gets really tired of it, and he drains Mount Olympus, and he pours the water of immortality on all the people down below, and he pours all the water and all the wine, right? It's kind of like when we overflow, right? We want to give and we give too much, or we're tired of something, so we're exploding. That I know that feeling very well, right? We're just like, we've had enough. So it's just pouring out of us in that too muchness kind of a way. So he's pouring the nectar of immortality, but there's nothing to catch it, right? He pours it down on humanity, but it isn't being received, it isn't being gathered. So here we are, still mortal. Thank the goddess, right? Because death allows us to be reborn and recreated. It's the dismemberment of Osiris, and it's a really the story of Osiris and Isis and their love story is a sad and powerful, grief-filled, and quite inspiring story. And if you want to go deeper into it, I'm so excited that today it's the full moon in Aquarius, and it's also Lunasad, which is a holiday from the Celtic tradition. And there's a beautiful ceremony that I'm so excited about. I created with a mythopoetic exploration of different archetypes of the season, and there's 5 physical embodied ritual practices that are there to explore the archetypes and the stories in and through the body, through breath and movement and meditation and chanting. And then there's a meditation and breath work session as well, and a bunch of prompts so that you can write in your journal with or have spark a conversation with. And we go pretty deep into the story of Isis and Osiris, because it's very much a story that the ancient Egyptians were fully into, particularly in this time of the year. So check it out. I'm going to leave a link in the description of the video. Check it out. I would love for you to do it. It can take you all the way into the fall equinox, and something for you to work with and play with and keep returning to and ritualize the season for you. So we go pretty deeply into this story there, but it's a powerful invitation to move into the empowering and fulfilling and complex and deeply inspiring way that grief and celebration, that rebirth is tied to death, that for anything to be sustained in life, something has to die, right? Everything that we eat is something that has been disconnected from its life force. I'm vegan, and still, right? Like every tomato, it's tomato season, my favorite food. Every tomato that I eat has been disconnected from its life force. So for anything to live, something else must die, and it's a continuous web that continues to be woven together as we live and as we coalesce. And it happens, we have many deaths in one lifetime, and then we have the grand death at the end of our life, and in which our body breaks down, and the dismemberment of our bodies becomes a reintegration. Whoa, things fall off. And a dismemberment happens all around. But the dismemberment is what joins and reintegrates the individuated, right? Like the Leo, the person, the personal, the individual with the whole. And so it's this life and death are this beautiful, and it's not, I'm not saying it as I'm not bypassing the pain, but the opposite. They're in the process. We must learn how to grieve. We must learn how to be with the entirety of the feeling, with the full circle and the full cycle of all of the flavors of experiences that we can have in life, which include in them the grief of death. So, and in this season, this is what this season really teaches us, right? We are in the peak of summer. Today it represents, like Lugnasad is the representation of summer's peak, of the height of summer. And then from here we start to move toward the fall. We're going to start to really notice the way that the sun is now setting a little bit earlier every day. And there's a little bit less and less light. So there's a movement toward darkness. But we're still in the light. We're still in the delight of summer. But we're being reminded that fall is coming. And it's beautiful. And there's bounty in this season. But the bounty is also the reminder that it's the end of the growth cycle. And so there is the fruit. But from now, we're going to start to shift gently and slowly, but eventually we're going to reach the process of decay. Okay, so I know, not to bum you out, this is a beautiful thing. It's beautiful and it's painful and it holds the complexity and the ambiguity of being alive. Being alive is not simple. And this is why I love working with the archetypes together, right? Particularly with the full moon, we have this invitation to bring where the sun is, what the season holds for us. In this moment, it's the lion, and we'll go a little deeper into that in Leo's new moon. And then the opposite of it, because the full moon is always the opposite sign on the spoke of the wheel. So I hope this is somewhat inspiring and inviting some thought process and evoking some feeling and some ideas for you, and that it's moving you in one way or another. And if it is, put a like on it and subscribe to our channel. I would love to continue to share with you, and share it with your friends, will you? It would be amazing if you do. And also check out mamamandala.com and sign up, subscribe to our mailing list. Tons of meaningful and powerful messages, not tons, but about one a week, coming into your email, and invitations to events that we create. So thank you for joining me, and have a beautiful full moon. Bask in the glory of your individual self and delight in the process of weaving yourself into a collective and reminding yourself that you are a part of a whole. Thanks, my dear. And join me for Lugnasad somatic ceremony. I would love to share this powerful journey with you. Okay, I will see you soon. Thank you.